as we enter the auditorium, requesting everyone to applaud and greet the dignitaries. Among the Sustainable Development Goals established by the United Nations in 2015, SDG 4, or the Sustainable Development Goal 4, is of prime significance. It proclaims inclusive and equitable education that promotes lifelong learning opportunities for all. Contemporary education policies around the world, and indeed in India, have aligned their aims and objectives towards this goal. Good morning and welcome to the International Faculty Development Program Quality Enhancement to Facilitate Academic Excellence and Well-being, organized by the Internal Quality Assurance Cell of Jyotinivas College Autonomous. Established in 1966 by the Sisters of St. Joseph of Tarbes, the institution is committed to holistic education for women from all walks of life. Academic enhancement programs form an integral part of this educational mission. Over the next 6 days, we have a wide host of resource persons who will be sharing their perspectives on different aspects and themes of the conference. As is customary in Jyotinivas, all beginnings are marked by the lighting of the lamp. I call upon our distinguished guest and speaker, Dr. N. Jayashankaran, esteemed principal, Dr. Sister Mary Louisa Sebastian, respected Dr. Sister Lalita Thomas, Director Postgraduate Center, beloved Sister Rosalie, Chief Administrator, Dr. Carol Stanley, IQAC Coordinator, Dr. Lata V, Controller of Examinations, and finally, coordinators of the FDP Organizing Committee, Dr. Leena Nair, Dr. Radha Ganapati, Dr. Josephine Narmada, and Dr. Sophia D to light the lamp. The lighting of the lamp will be followed by a rendering of prayer by Dr. Josephine Narmada, Head and Dean of Faculty of Commerce and Management. God, our loving Father, as we gather from different corners of the world to engage in this international faculty development program, we seek your guidance and blessings. Grant us open minds, receptive hearts, and the wisdom to learn from one another. May our time together be fruitful, fostering growth, collaboration, and understanding. God of the universe, grant our resource person for today, Dr. Jay Shankaran, as he imparts knowledge and insights
May his words be a source of inspiration and enlightenment for all who are privileged to learn from him today. Bless him with discernment and clarity as he navigates through the complexities of our subject matter. Merciful God, grant our principal, Dr. Sister Mary Louisa, the strength to face challenges with resilience and the compassion to lead with empathy. May she find joy and fulfillment in her role as she works tirelessly for the betterment of our students' community. Heavenly Father, we place before you Sister Rosalie, our administrator, and all the sisters of the task. We thank you for their tireless effort in overseeing the well-being of our institution. We ask for your continued blessings on the IQAC coordinator, Dr. Karen Stanley, and the controller of examinations, Dr. Lata B, that their vision for our educational institution may flourish and bear fruits of success. Gracious God, bless all those who have gathered here. Grant us the strength to overcome challenges, the humility to learn from one another, and the inspiration to contribute meaningfully to the advancement of knowledge and the betterment of education worldwide. As we commence this journey, we entrust our time together into your hands. May it be a time of fruitful exchange, personal growth, and collective progress. In your name, we offer this prayer, trusting in your guidance and grace. Amen.
Dr. Josephine. It is my privilege to introduce our Chief Resource Person and esteemed guest for the day, Dr. N. Jayashankaran. Former Vice Chancellor of Kanchi University, Dr. Jayashankaran is currently the Director General at Bharatidasan Institute of Management. Featured in Business Standard's top 5 professors of management in India, Dr. Jayashankaran has several academic badges of honor. There is no person more worthy than Dr. Jayashankaran to speak on the occasion. Welcome and thank you, sir, for accepting our invitation. I now call upon IQAC coordinator, Dr. Carol Stanley, to hand over a small token of our appreciation to Dr. Jayashankaran. I take this opportunity to welcome the leader of this institution who guides and steers this college, Dr. Sister Mary Louisa Sebastian. I also extend my hearty welcome to Dr. Sister Lalita, Sister Rosalie, Sister Natalia, and all the sisters of the community who constantly guide every endeavors in this college. Warm welcome to IQAC coordinator Dr. Carol Stanley, Controller of Examinations, Dr. Lata, and the FDP organizing team. A special note of welcome to all our online resource persons and participants. Last but not the least, welcome to all my dear colleagues. Quality enhancement, excellence, well-being. The 4 operational words in this week's FDP sets the tone and temper for the objectives and outcomes of IQAC as an institutional body. Education in today's world is a wide spectrum project towards social construction. On one end of this spectrum is the learner's willingness to think for oneself. On the other end is the educator's readiness to adapt themselves towards changing academic needs. Our access to knowledge systems is evolving. So too, our pedagogical approaches must be remodeled. We are fast shifting towards a learner-centric educational system where a uniform template for imparting education is no longer viable. The learner's skills, areas of interest, and their socio-cultural environment are some of the parameters against which today's academic contexts can be assessed. This requires a reorientation of our pedagogical approaches, curriculum structures, and evaluative processes. Through continual academic deliberations, we need to recalibrate the understanding about the world we live in. It is a necessity not only for learners to forge new thoughts and opportunities for themselves, it is also the educator's mode of expanding their potential. IQAC stands at the forefront of enforcing these changes. The IQAC periodically proposes the introduction of new programs that are current, skill-based, and innovative. The Faculty Development Program is undertaken by the IQAC to enhance participative learning. It acts as a nodal agency of the institution for coordinating quality-related activities, including adoption and dissemination of best practices. We need to imagine an ecosystem and ways of institutional functioning whereby we can observe, reflect, challenge, and innovate. Over the next 6 days, we will engage with domain experts who will share their insights on various aspects of this issue. Dr. N. Jayashankaran, Professor George Thadatil, SDB, Dr. Melanie Garson, Ms. Shripriya KH, Dr. Vivekananda J, Dr. Jacqueline Shrimon will speak on technology-enabled teaching and learning, innovative pedagogical methods, futuristic trends in education, 4 fundamental factors for being a great teacher, and effective coping mechanism for well-being of teachers. We have indeed an entire compass of topics. As multitasking individuals, our responsibility lies in understanding our evolving roles as facilitators and integrate ethics, equity, accessibility, and outcome-based methods with modern-day education. Wishing everyone a fruitful engagement over the next few days. I now call upon our dear principal, Dr. Sister Mary Louisa Sebastian, to address the gathering. Warm, compassionate, and sagacious, Dr. Sister Mary Louisa is at the helm of every enterprise in JNC. Please come on there, sister.
And distinguished guests and speaker of the first day of this faculty development program, Professor Dr. N. Jayashankaran, former Vice Chancellor, Kanchi University, and advisor, VIT University. Sister Rosalie KJ, our administrator, Dr. Carol Stanley Semler, IPSC coordinator, Dr. Lata V, controller of examinations, my dear staff, and all the participants from across the globe, online and offline. The FDP on quality enhancement to facilitate academic excellence and well-being addresses a crucial aspect of our educational journey, the enhancement of academic excellence and overall well-being. Striving for excellence in academics is essential, but it must go hand in hand with nurturing our well-being, that is, the well-being of everyone involved, all the stakeholders, students, and staff. Academic excellence of students isn't solely about the grades. It's about fostering a love for learning. We need to cultivate an environment where curiosity thrives, where students are encouraged to ask questions and explore beyond textbooks. But to enhance the quality of academic excellence, the significance of holistic education has to be recognized and incorporated. This involves not only intellectual pursuits, but also the development of emotional intelligence, creativity, and critical thinking skills. A curriculum that molds and makes our students well-rounded individuals and prepares them for the challenges of the future is urgently required. Equally vital
is the well-being of every student and all the faculty members. Mental health should not be overshadowed by academic pressures. Creating a supportive atmosphere, providing resources for stress management, counseling, and promoting healthy work-life balance should be a priority. Faculty members, administrators, and parents have to collaborate to build a community that nurtures both academic and emotional support and growth. It's essential to instill resilience and coping mechanisms in our staff and students, preparing us not just for classroom and exams, but for life's unpredictable challenges as well. Hopefully, these few days and the time that we spend together would throw light on the challenges we face and helps us prioritize the well-being of every individual within our academic community. Only by embracing and including values that promote well-being can we truly prepare ourselves and our students for success and happiness in both academic pursuits and the broader spectrum of life. My hearty congratulations to the IPSC for organizing this FDP, especially the coordinator, Dr. Carol Stanley Zendler, organizing committee, Dr. Leena, Dr. Radha, Dr. Josephine, and Dr. Sophia, and the entire team IQAC. God bless. Thank you.
Thank you, sister, for setting down the theme of the conference. As faculty members, we may now set our expectations for the intellectual and emotional development that the conference aims to achieve. I now hand over to Dr. Rima Lobo, Faculty Department of Zoology and Genetics, to formally introduce our resource person and moderate the session.
Thank you, Suparna ma'am. The first speaker of the 6-day faculty development program on quality enhancement to facilitate academic excellence and well-being is Dr. N. Jayashankaran, former Vice Chancellor of Kanchi University and advisor, VIT University. He started his teaching career as a post-graduation professor and head of the department of 3 departments actually, namely mathematics, statistics, and computer science at St. Joseph's College, Tiruchirappalli. Dr. Jayashankaran is an outstanding administrator and is associated with various professional bodies and high-level committees. A great institution builder, the Bharatidasan Institute of Management grew in strength and recognition under his directorship. As an advisor to the Chancellor in NM University, Mumbai, he has developed new campuses in Bangalore and Hyderabad. As a senior assessor in NAC, he has assessed and accredited many well-known universities, autonomous and affiliated academic institutions. He is also a resource person for training the assessors involved in NAC assessment and accreditation. During the last 4 to 5 years, he has very successfully mentored well-known large universities and autonomous colleges all over the country to enhance their quality processes and secure the highest grades with impressive scores. He is the former Executive Council member of Association of Indian Management Schools, member of NAC Inspection Team, Central Council member of Operations Research Society of India, Calcutta, member of the committee constituted by AICTE to form norms and standards for management education, member of the high-level committee on vocational education constituted by Government of Tamil Nadu, and a member of the examination board of the prestigious Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. Dr. N. Jayashankaran is an eminent professor of management and is rated as one of the top 5 professors of management in India by Business Standard. He is the founder and secretary of the Ramanujan Mathematical Society of India and the chairman of the IIM selection panel for selecting students for various IIMs. Several of the students that he has mentored and groomed are presently diplomats, heads of large corporations, and eminent academicians. He is truly a rare mix of hardcore academician, strategic administrator, and a powerful speaker. Dr. Jayashankaran will be addressing us on the topic, building an effective learning environment to bridge the gap between the learner and the teacher. Before we begin the session, I request the participants to post their queries in the chat box. They will be addressed at the end of the session. The feedback link for external participants will be shared in the chat box daily at the end of the session. So now, without further ado, I call on Dr. Jayashankaran to begin the session. Welcome, sir.
Sir to be on the stage, or would you like him to be?
Because life is going on, it might be on top.
So it's
Yeah, better to go on top.
Need to be.
Yes.
Stage. No. Thank you.
Most respected principal of this great institution, Dr. Sister Mary, the IKC coordinator, Dr. Carol, the FDP organizing committee members, Dr. Leena Nair, Dr. Radha Chanapati, Dr. Josephine, Dr. Sophia, all respected sisters of this institution, my faculty colleagues. I'm indeed very happy to be part of this 6-day international UTP organized by the Universe College. I'm extremely happy to be on this platform, interacting with all the faculties of Universe College, and also hundreds of online participants who are listening to this program. A sheer inspiration on the part of Universe top administration to organize a workshop like this, not for half a day or for a full day, but for 6 days, covering a wide variety of topics. Faculty development is very, very important. In corporate world, they know human resource development. There's a separate department who keeps on providing the training and development for the executives in the organization. It generally doesn't happen in an academic institution. Are you able to hear me? Last, do you have an echo or is it clear? You're able to hear. Only some of you may be happy that they are not able to hear. You be there, I'll be here. You enjoy yourself talking. We enjoy ourselves sleeping. Post lunch. As always the challenge, right? So the continuous learning is very, very important for a teacher. We are the student to be a lifelong learner. We must also be a lifelong learner. Let us first look at the topic. So the broad theme is quality enhancement to foster academic excellence and well-being. Many times we use these technical jargon without really understanding what they mean. Can someone explain to me what do you understand by quality enhancement? We use several terms with respect to quality in accreditation. We talk about quality assurance. We talk about quality sustenance. We talk about quality enhancement. We talk about quality enrichment. Now, do you see any difference amongst all these four terms, or are they the same? You ask a fundamental question. I have interacted with the IPSC across the country. When I ask this question, they go blank. Ultimately, I asked the IPSC to address this issue. Now look at the manual. Manual is prepared for an affiliated college, autonomous college, universities. For universities, there are several manuals. There's a dual mode university, there's a law university, there's a medical university, there's a central science university. For university itself, there are several manuals. The same manual is used for an institution in the first cycle, the second cycle, and the third cycle, and the fourth cycle. Are we justified in doing it? The same set of questions you are asking. It's an autonomous college with 50 QLM questions and 35 QLM questions you are asking. If it is an autonomous college which is 5 years old, you have the same question. If it's an autonomous college like Sanjay University, where I studied and worked for more than a decade, you have the same question. When they have been existing as an autonomous institution for 45 years, you have the same questions. Are we justified? This is the first question that we need to ask. What is the expectation from NAC when they go to the campus for the first cycle, second cycle, third cycle, fourth cycle? This I have been raising the issue for more than 20 years. Now I think NAC is trying to develop a separate manual for different cycles. I think lots of changes are going to happen. And this is one of the changes that they are contemplating. Now, as a matter of fact, quality assurance is seen in the first cycle. It is one of compliance and accountability. Quality sustenance, when they come and look at the institution for the second cycle, the kind of quality that you have exhibited in the first cycle, are you sustaining it? I've done enormous analysis of all the institutions who are accredited, not accredited across the country. I find several institutions have slipped down from A grade to B grade to C grade across the country. Simply because you got a good grade in the first cycle, don't think second cycle you will be able to maintain the same grade or even a higher grade. It is only an expectation, a desire, but it has to be proven. That means you have to sustain the quality. Different kind of techniques has to be used in the institution. Third cycle, we use the term quality enhancement. So you are in the third cycle or fourth cycle? Fourth cycle. So you have gone beyond the quality enhancement. We should talk about quality enrichment. I will tell the difference before we go to the topic. Quality enhancement, there are 200 definitions in the website. You go and look for definition of quality enhancement. But one definition which is very close to my heart and accepted by many academicians across the globe goes like this. Quality enhancement is defined as the deliberate steps taken by the institution to make sure there's a continuous improvement in the learning experience of the students. Now, there are three components in this definition. One is the learning experience of the students, and that has to be measured. Unless you measure it, you will not know that there is a continuous improvement in the learning experience. Even if there is a continuous improvement in the learning experience of the students, it may be accidental. It may not be as a consequence of the deliberate step that the college or university has taken. Therefore, the college must be able to say, these are the deliberate steps that we have taken 1, 2, 3, 4, which has resulted in the continuous improvement in the learning experience of the students. All these three are internal to the organization, to be articulated only by the college. So that means you will have to measure the learning experience. All of you must be familiar with OBE, outcome-based education. What do you do in the outcome-based education? you don't measure the input, you measure the output. Output is the learning. With the 3 credit course in a semester, you teach for 45 hours. You have taught a course for 45 hours, that's an input. How many hours students have learned? Have they learned for 5 hours, 10 hours, 20 hours? No learning has taken place. How do you measure that? That's why outcome-based education became popular. So for management schools, there is an AICB accreditation, there is an AMBA accreditation, there is an EQUIS accreditation. These three are supposed to be international accreditation. We used to call them as triple crown. I'm actually pushing Narsi Manji to wear triple crowns. Even though we have one head, we desire to wear 3 crowns. NM got AICB accreditation, we got AMBA accreditation. I am working towards EQUIS accreditation. This will become one of the top B schools which is accredited by an international agency with 3 international crowns, right? One of the basic tools in the management accreditation is we call it as AOL. If somebody uses the term, you should not be frightened. This AOL stands for assurance of learning. The backbone of any international accreditation is AOL, which is very similar to what we are doing in India as a consequence of the Washington Accord, namely OBE, outcome-based education, right? So these two techniques, essentially what we are trying to do is measure the learning experience of the students, right? Now, when I talk about deliberate steps, one of the steps that we need to do is to enlighten the faculty to become masterful teachers. This is one of the deliberate steps that we must take to make sure there is a continuous improvement in the learning experience of the students. So, if we want to make sure there is a continuous improvement in the learning experience of the student, the quality of the teaching has to go up. The quality of the teachers, they should all become masterful teachers. Therefore, how do you make a masterful teacher? There are 9 models of teaching. Anyone who has done B.Ed, M.Ed in this group? Some of you have done. So in B.Ed, M.Ed, they only focus on effective pedagogy, how to teach school children. I was telling the principal before coming, pedagogy comes from the Greek word pedos, which means children. That's why we call the doctors who handle children as pediatricians. So the method of teaching children, the school children, they are known as pedagogy. But we are not teaching school children. We are all college teachers, university teachers. We are teaching adults. It is known as andragogy, ANDRAGOGY. The art and science of teaching adults is totally different from pedagogy. It is andragogy. Malcolm Knowles is a British educationist. He is the author of this andragogy, right? We need to actually train our teachers to become effective teachers of adults, right? Don't teach them pedagogy, teach them andragogy. Now there are 9 models of teaching. There are 2 parameters which are responsible for making a teacher to be a great teacher. One is the rapport that we maintain with the students. It can be low, it can be medium, it can be high. The intellectual excitement you create in a class, it can be low, it can be medium, it can be high. So you create a 3x3 grid. For every combination of this low, medium, high in the personal rapport that you maintain with the student, the intellectual excitement you make with the student, there are 9 models. If you go to the grid 3-3, you are very high on the intellectual excitement, you are also very high on personal rapport, then you are a masterful teacher. There are 9 models of teaching. Our objective is to reach 3-3. Now each one of them has a name. Actually, if you are low on it, low on personal, high on personal rapport, low on intellectual excitement, this is known as Socrates method of teaching. Socrates is a great teacher. He never created any intellectual excitement in the class. He will ask the students to ask questions. Who am I? Get an answer for that. But he was very friendly with the student. The bondage with the student by the teacher with the student was very high. Therefore, if the personal rapport is high, intellectual excitement is low, it is known as Socrates method of teaching, right? So we are trying to focus on quality enhancement. That is the title of your workshop, quality enhancement for academic excellence and well-being. Excellence is again a word which is very difficult to define. Like quality. Quality cannot be defined. Like the word integrity, honesty, simplicity, quality cannot be defined, very difficult. It is even more difficult to measure it. So that's why NAC is also finding it difficult to measure this quality through various metrics, right? So you can't measure the honesty of a person with a measure. You can't say I'm 90% honest, once in a way I will tell lies. No, you must be like Harishchandra, where you will not allow a falsehood to slip through the lips. You can't say, I maintain my integrity, once in a way, I take bribes. No, when once you take a bribe, your integrity is gone, right? So it's very difficult to define and measure these concepts. Same problem NAC also has with these manuals, right? Very difficult, it's not easy. But in management, David Kaplan has developed a tool which is known as balanced scorecard. Like we all do individual performance appraisal. Can you develop a performance management system for an organization? For example, you want to measure the performance of Infosys, measure the performance of Cognizant, measure the performance of Wipro on various parameters and then compare. I want one single value which will represent the quality of that institution. You will be able to compare. Will you be able to look at their balance sheet, look at the profit? If the profits are good, they will say it's a good company. Or will you look at the number of employees? Will you look at the salary provided to the top management? Will you look at the happiness index or satisfaction level of the teachers? Some companies are doing it. There is one company in Bangalore, happiness, no, it came from Mindtree. Happiness,
Happiest minds.
happiest minds. You know, Sharon Andrews, who is they call it as happiness evangelist. That is the title of this girl. She is my student, Sharon Andrew. Once you must call her here. How to measure the happiness of the people working in the organization? She is measuring it in happiest minds, right? So there are tools and techniques. They publish monthly articles, journals, the measurement of how do you measure the happiness of the people in the organization, right? Likewise, we must try to do it in academic institutions also, right? Therefore, we are trying to measure the performance of an organization, right? How do you measure? One single measure will not help. You must have multiple measures, right? That is the problem which NAC also facing. So, when once you want to develop academic excellence, it's very easy to say, but how do you measure academic excellence? And well-being is again a concept which is now used in Stanford. I think Harvard was the first one to start a course on happiness. I think that course was highly subscribed. 2,000 students in Harvard used to register for the course. You also make the students happy, faculty happy. And similar course was started in Stanford. They call it as well-being, right? So the title that you have given is extremely good. The topic that I am going to talk on is building an effective learning environment to bridge the gap between the learner and the teacher. First, we need to ask the question, why should there be a gap? Who is a learner? Don't you think as a teacher, we want the students to be lifelong learners? Don't you think a teacher also should be a lifelong learner? I'm also a learner. How do you define a teacher and a student in a classroom situation? The person who is standing on a platform, waxing eloquence, training the throats and talking, straining his legs is a teacher. People are comfortably seated in an AC room and listening, not listening, you are the student. This is one way of classifying. Next. Standing on this side of the table is a teacher. People who are sitting on this side of the table, they are students. That is the way you define. Is that right? No. You have good teacher must be a good student. A good student must also be a good teacher. That's why today you talk about flipped method of teaching. Flipped method of teaching, flipped classroom. These concepts are not something new. They are all Indian. You flip the roles of a teacher and a student. That we are doing during the online teaching. You give the asynchronous material for the students, video, audio, text. They come to the class with full preparation. Classroom interaction is more utilized for clarification of the doubts by the student. They ask questions, you give solution. Generally, in a regular classroom setting, teachers always come to the class with full preparation. Students always come to the class without any preparation. First distinguishing feature of a student and a teacher. You always ask the question, student don't answer. Now in the flipped classroom, students are supposed to come to the classroom with the full preparation. I am supposed to go to the classroom without any preparation. I am a teacher. I have behind me 55 years of teaching experience. Why do I require a preparation? All my role is to answer the question raised by my student. Therefore, I don't have to prepare. Students are supposed to raise the question. Therefore, slowly over a period of time, the distinction between the student and the teacher is slowly evaporating. I can say without any fear of contradiction, during the last 55 years, I have learned so much from my students as they have learned it from me. It's a two-way traffic. Many a times as teachers, you would have observed, some of our students ask a very brilliant question, which makes me think. Many a times I don't have an answer. Probably I'll go home, work on it, and I'll come with an answer the next day. I may not have an answer for any question that the students are raising in the class. More intricate question they are asking, the more depth I understand my own subject. The best way to learn a subject is to teach. You want to teach educated technology, don't take a course on educated technology. Take a course on educated technology, go and teach. You will understand nuances of education technology. The best way to learn is to teach. இந்த காலத்துல சொல்லுவா 1000 பேரை பலி போட்டவன் அறவேதியன். ஒரு 10 பேட்சை பலி போட்டா மாஸ்டர்ஃபுல் டீச்சர். You sacrifice 10 batches of students, you become a masterful teacher. You don't require any MDP. Only after the workshop, you will not do damage for 10 generations. In 3 generations, you will damage and learn the faster way, right? But damage will always be done. Whether you are a doctor or a teacher, you learn the experience. Experience learning for a doctor is what? He must have sent the y-axis to x-axis. He came walking to the hospital, rolling on a stretcher. Like a great doctor, you will learn. That is experiential learning, very costly experience. We do the same damage. When you teach a concept wrongly, I think that will be enormous damage done to the society, right? So one has to be careful when they are teaching. Now we move on. Next slide. Somebody move. Yeah. So these are the agenda that we want to cover. 5 dimensions of effective professional development for teachers. Learner maxims, learner methods and relationships, importance of strong bonding with the students, ways to improve bonding with the students, importance of communication in the Indian context, 6 components of voice production, effective communication and relationship, man's research on types of students, importance of Guru Shishya Parampara and its relevance today. Why lifelong learning is important. Everybody talks about lifelong learning. If you look at the AICT website, for engineers and managers, they have developed 12 graduate attribute. 12th attribute is lifelong learning. Many a times I ask very senior people in AICTE, why lifelong learning? They don't have an answer. I will try to answer the question at the end of my session. Move on. 5 dimensions of effective professional development of teachers. Professional development is not the typical one-time workshop. Once in a year, you conduct a 5-day workshop. once in a semester we offer a 1 day workshop. That is not social development. It is an ongoing process. There are 5 dimensions to strong development. As a teacher, I always feel if you want to professionally develop yourself as a masterful teacher, there are 5 areas which are important. Number one, self. As a teacher, you must know what is my personal teaching philosophy and skill. See, in my times, I consciously selected to be a teacher. I had lots of other opportunities. I didn't go. Like Kalam, I got aeronautical engineering in MIT. 10 seats in the whole country, I got 1 seat. Kalam also got the same seat. He joined, I didn't join. So, what is the, I consciously decided to be a teacher because my role models in St. Joseph's College, all those Jesuit fathers were masterful teachers. They inspired me to be a teacher, inspired me to be a mathematician, right? So, you must be able to write what is your personal philosophy when you are a teacher. I will give you some models. I have done some research in this area across the country. What is the personal philosophy of some of the great teachers across the country? Because you also must be able to write that statement. Number two, students. How do students learn and retain information? See, I am supposed to teach the student, therefore I need to understand the profile of my students. And also I need to understand how they learn. Only then I will be able to effectively make them learn. Therefore, I need to know the profile of the student. Content, essential outcome or critical to successful learning. How am I going to design the curriculum? Right? The subject, is given. You are an autonomous college, you can design the subject, you can teach. Now, how do you prepare, how do you design the contents of your course, curriculum development? Then the process igniting learning through effective design. You must be able to prepare for the classes. How do you prepare for the classes effectively? How do I make my classes interesting? How do I make sure my students love the subject and learn the subject? How do I make that happen? Last one is learning environment that enhances outcome. How do I make the classroom environment congenial for the students to learn? There is joy of learning for my student. How do you do that? This is delivery. There are 5 broad dimensions. I was in Helsinki University of Technology, which is supposed to be one of the premier research institutions in Europe. I was handling a European project. In that context, I had to go to HUT. We call it as HUT, Helsinki University of Technology, which is a top research institution in Europe. It is in Finland. On the first day when I met the Vice Chancellor, I was a Vice Chancellor at the time, part of the delegation at one. Vice Chancellor gave me a book. The title of the book was Chef Book, CHEF, Chef Book. I found all the deans in that university wearing the dress of a chef, that white gown, white cap. All the dean research, dean academic, dean student welfare, all of them were in the cover page. They are photographed, but they were all dressed in a chef dress. I thought this Vice Chancellor mistook me to be a hospitality management professor. So he's giving me this book. Then before I could raise the question, he said, Professor, this is not a hotel management book. Read this book, tomorrow we'll discuss. So that night I went to my room and then read through the whole book. Amazing. The way they are projecting the faculty is the way a chef prepares the food for a VIP guest. For example, Narendra Modi, before going to Ayodhya, Pranapratishtha in Brahma, he is trying to come to your home. Take one of the faculty, he is going to visit your home along with Amit Shah. After visiting your home, you will go to Ayodhya, right? Such a VVIP guest coming to your home. Now, when they are coming to your home during the lunchtime, you will offer lunch. That's the Indian way, Atithi Devo Bhava. We treat an Atithi as God, right? You want to offer lunch. Now, there are several options open to you. You can order in Swiggy. Right? But Narendra Modi orders Swiggy. Or you can order from any one of the restaurants. Right? If the personal philosophy of the housewife is such a great person is coming home, I want to cook the food myself. And then offer it to him with love and affection. That's what a typical Indian housewife does when a VIP comes. If your father or father-in-law comes, or mother-in-law comes home, when you order it from Swiggy, you prepare the food on your own, right? So that is, I'm talking about the old Indian traditions. I don't know what is happening now. I used to say jokingly, in our tradition, in Sanskrit, after you eat the food in any guest, you're supposed to bless them by this. Annadata Sukhi Bhava. The one who has given me food, let you and your family be happy. This is old proverb in Sanskrit. Today is Annadata Swiggy Bhava. Because you have ordered the food from Swiggy. If the food is good, you thank Swiggy, not the housewife. Right? So, you want to prepare the food on your own. Then the next point that you would like to consider is what is their likes and dislikes? Which food they will like? Will they like kitchen? Will they like chicken? They like fried fish and chicken. What they will like? Hyderabad biryani. That is the way the food was prepared when he went to US. That was the Navaratri day, they were fasting. So Narendra Modi took only lemon juice, that's all. So Biden has organized a very elaborate menu for him, but he didn't eat. That was a fasting time. So you need to find out what do they eat? Are they vegetarian, non-vegetarian? I am a vegetarian, even then I have a lot of restrictions. I don't eat onion, I don't eat garlic, I don't eat mushroom, I have a lot of restrictions. So with all love and affection, if you have prepared a potato curry with onion, I will not be able to eat. So the second thing that you need to understand is what are the eating habits and preferences of your guests? You would love to find that out, right? Now, third step, what do? You try to procure best of the raw materials, best of the fresh vegetables, best of the provisions from the store, fresh, not old stuff. Raw materials together. Then you prepare the food. All the affection you prepare the food. To the best of your abilities. Last thing you try to serve with affection. I can share, most of you are women. Ability to cook well is a skill. Ability to serve effectively is also another skill. Many housewives are good in cooking, not good in serving. Not good in serving. Today you have the buffet system. Like a beggar, I carry a plate, go from one counter to another counter, ask. It's a glorious beginning. That's what is happening about it. That is not the Indian way. You serve them on a plantain leaf. So again, in Indian tradition, as I am eating, I am not supposed to speak. Now doctors say that the best way so that you don't get the hiccup. No, when you are eating, the Parayaragamba, it goes into the windpipe, you will get choked. The choking will happen, particularly when you become old. Therefore, in Indian tradition, as you are eating, you are not supposed to speak. There are two advantages. One advantage is wife must be able to observe the way you eat, with what high velocity you consume an item. Italy unlimited it goes. Crispy dosa, rava dosa, unlimited it goes. So you must keep on supplying it. You must understand without asking, because you cannot speak. By looking at the way the husband or the men folk eat at home, you must know what they like, what they don't like. They have served three dishes, one dish he doesn't touch. Don't go for a second serving. The keen observation of the housewife is increased. So serving is an art, is a skill. Like cooking is a skill and an art, serving is also an art. So that is the last one. So this is what the chef book was trying to convey in the entire book. As an academician, when once you remember this example, you will be able to know what 5 dimensions we need to develop ourselves. Number one, self. What is my philosophy of teaching? Do you want to be an ordinary teacher, spoon feeding my students, or you want to be a facilitator or you want to create an environment where the students will be motivated to learn on their own. I had a fantastic maths teacher by name Calculus Srinivasan. He always used to tell me, I never believe in covering the syllabus. I always believe in uncovering the minds of my students. He will always come in the 6th hour. He will teach dynamics. Most difficult subject. Many of us don't want to take the last hour, right? Because in the math department, they always used to say, "Sir, don't give me the last afternoon classes, don't give me." All my earlier colleagues would have already killed the students in the first few hours. I'll be motivated to do a post-mortem in the 5th hour or 6th hour. Don't give me the last hour. Whereas Calculus Universal will request for the last hour and then say, even though my colleagues would have killed the students, I will come as a Sanjeevani, bring them back to life. Bring them back to life. Look at his confidence as a teacher. His name itself is Calculus Universal. He is a fantastic teacher in any discipline of mathematics. It's because of him I took to mathematics, because of him I took to teaching, right? Therefore, what is your philosophy of teaching? That you must say. Then the students, I need to understand what is required by my student. What is it that they want to learn? There is old saying, if you want to teach those subjects which the students want to learn, it is romantic way of teaching. If you want to teach the students which are relevant to their thing, that is pragmatic way of teaching. If you want to teach the student those areas where you think you have knowledge, it is idiotic way of teaching. These are the three definitions in the education technology. If you want to give them what they want, it is romantic way of teaching. First, we need to understand who are my audience. Why have they come here? What do they want to learn? That I need to understand. Right? Just like understanding what are the food habits of Amit Shah and Modi, you want to understand what is it that my students want to learn, that we need to understand. Then you decide the contents, raw material, fresh material you bring to the table. When you are a master in the subject, whether it is philosophy, psychology, math, physics, chemistry, or engineering or medicine, you know the latest things that are happening in that area, you bring it into the curriculum, right? They are the contents. Then next one is process. You prepare for these classes very effectively to the best of your abilities. Last one is context. You deliver it in the classroom in an interesting way. So these are the 5 broad dimensions of professional development for a teacher. We are trying to focus mostly on number 2 and number 5. How do you handle the student? Because I want to bridge the gap between the learner and the teacher. And then these are all the self-teaching philosophy which I have collected from some of the best teachers across the country. Someone said, I see myself as a companion and a guide. That is my philosophy for being a teacher. I see myself as a facilitator or coach. I serve as resources for learning. I see myself as a coach who helps students to develop research skills. My role as a tutor. I still remember, around for Sekira, was my Shakespeare teacher. I mean, he's a great scholar. He's MA in literature, he has Sanskrit literature, MA in English literature, scholarly person. In those days, in the English department, we used to have a position known as tutor. I don't know whether they still exist. Monday evening composition is mandatory in St. Joseph's College for the last 200 years. We are talking about best practices. Is one of the best practices in St. Joseph's College. Monday composition 2 to 4 is mandatory. All the students will have to assemble in the lobby hall, write the composition. You will not be given any exemption. Wednesday morning, within 48 hours, all these 5,000 essays will be returned to the students with a blood bath. The tutor should have written it with a red ink, spelling mistake, grammatical mistake, wrong formation of the sentence, all those remarks. Today you see the answer script without any remark, not even a tick mark. You don't know whether the examiner has read that page or just given the marks. And this is never happen. You should carry lots of written remarks by the evaluator. That's what he said, blood bath. Within 48 hours, Wednesday morning, all these compositions will be returned. It is mandatory. Right? Therefore, the tutor used to be the lowest level in the English department. Starting from professor, in those days, reader, lecturer, then tutor. D.N. Sikira will come to the class and then say, my understanding of these designation go like this. I'm just repeating what Reverend Father Sikira told me when I was a BSc student. He said, you join the teaching profession as a lecturer. Right? When you are a lecturer, you prepare for the classes, come to the class and then lecture. Right? Then you are not too happy to stay in that position for long. You want to be promoted as a leader. In those days, those positions want to be promoted as a leader. Then once you are promoted as a leader, you stop lecturing. You don't prepare for the classes. You straight come to the class, open up the notes or the textbook, start reading the entire thing, you become a reader. Right? As the reader, you are not happy, you are promoted as a professor, then you stop reading it also. You come to the class, start professing many things which you are not following, and that way you become a professor. If as the professor you lose the sense of direction, you become a director. If as a director you become some vices, you become a vice chancellor. You become a vice chancellor, not this way, but in a particular way. I still remember what Reverend Father Sikira told me in the literature class. After saying all this, he said, I don't want to be known as a professor, I want to be known as a tutor. It is a tutor who tutors the students, makes you students learn. I want to be known as a tutor. The words of Grandfather Sikira is still ringing in my ears, right? So let's not bother about the position. Let us bother about what kind of work we are doing. Therefore, my role as a tutor, one professor said, I want to be known as a tutor. My role as a model thinker, I want to improve the critical thinking of my student. I want to be a model thinker. Teacher as a role model, I must be a role model. When I was a student 50 years ago in St. Joseph's, every one of my teachers, all those Jesuit fathers, all lay Catholic, they were all role models to us. That is why in educated technology, we use this expression, what is caught from the teacher is more important than what is taught by a teacher. The teacher, by his own role model, conveys lots of messages to the students, right? So that was the thinking of another teacher. My approach to teaching is activity based. We're talking about experiential learning, which is activity based. This was the philosophy. Moving from stage on stage to guide on the side to be a coach in the middle. This was the personal philosophy of one teacher in the country. He said, I don't want to be a sage on stage, waxing eloquence. I don't even want to be a guide on the side. I want to mix with my students and be a coach in the middle. Right? This is the philosophy. My simple exercise assignment for all of you, go home today after dinner, spend 10 minutes. Reflect your own philosophy of teaching. You've taken teaching as a profession. What is your philosophy? These are all models. You don't have to repeat any one of them. You will have your own reason for being a teacher. What is the philosophy of yourselves as a teacher from the self perspective? Move on. Next slide. Now, learner maxim, teachers are responsible and accountable to cause a student to learn. This is very, very important. Most of the time, as teachers, we come to the class, roll our PPT, and imagine that the students have understood. Most of the time, I never use a PPT. I always tell my organizers, I don't have PPT, I have powerful points. No PowerPoints are required. I speak from my bloodstream. That is always effective, right? Because there are online participants, I prepared this PowerPoint with great difficulty, right? So teachers are responsible and accountable to cause the student to learn. So we are not responsible for the learning capabilities of the student. We have no control over that. They are all committed to us. They are all admitted they are in my classroom. But it is my responsibility to make sure that they develop a desire to learn. Second. No. So you are not responsible for the learning capabilities of the students. That they come with slow learner, average learner, advanced learner. We are not responsible for that. But any student who is committed to my care, this is my responsibility and my accountability to make them cause learning. Must cause them to learn is important. I will share one experience with me when I started my life as a teacher in St. James College, way back in 1st June 1975. I joined as a person head. Actually, 69 to 71, I was a teacher. Then I resigned and went to Tata Institute of Fundamental Research to do a PhD. It's supposed to be Princeton and Harvard and India in research in physics, computer science, and mathematics is the ultimate research is field. So I was there. Finished my PhD, came back to St. Joseph as head of the department. It's a very rare privilege. Only Jesuit fathers will be the head. For 160 years, they deviated from the convention and made me head of the department, superseding 7 of my teachers. It is a 20-member department in maths. In statistics, 20 came, computer science, another 20. So I was managing 60 faculty at the age of 27, right? So I was the head of the department. I finished my PhD from TFR. And I was teaching trigonometry for the PhD student. PhD was in St. Joseph's College. I was teaching trigonometry. So in TFR, you have to think fast. Because your audience, they are all, David Mumford will be sitting before he is a field medalist. So they are all outstanding brains. When you write your first step, they will get the 10th step. So I go to the 15th step to make them think. You have to think fast. I was trained like that for 4 years. I'm coming to a PUC class. I finished the entire curriculum in 30 minutes. I finished the sine, cos, tangent, addition formula, multiplication, inverse trigonometry function. The entire curriculum for the semester I finished in 30 minutes. About 100 students are sitting in the class. They're all fresh from the school. They felt as if a ghost has hit them in a dark room. They built a pair in the மாதிரி ஏற்கனவே மேத்ஸ் டிஃபிகல்ட் ஸ்கூல்ல இருந்து வந்திருக்கான் இந்த என்டையர் ஒன் செமஸ்டர் சப்ஜெக்ட் யூ கம்ப்ரஸ் இட் இன் 30 minutes. I could see they were restless. I don't know what to do with the remaining 50 minutes, another 40 question, another 25-30 minutes. So what, how do you spend the time? Should I take attendance for a second time? Oh, we were ignored attendance. For another 10-15 minutes ஓட்டிட்டான் அவ்வளவு மிசரபிள். எனக்கு மனத்துல ஏதோ கால்குலேஷன் வர மாதிரி கிரேட் டீச்சர்னு எண்ணம். டோட்டலி டிஃபரெண்ட் கப் ஆஃப். ஸோ சிம்பிளஸ்ட் திங் என்ன நினைச்சேன்னாக்க, வாட் எவர் ஐ ஹவ் டாட், ஐ தாட் ஐ வில் கிவ் them a test. Easy இல்லை. I am not a trained teacher at the time. I mean, from a research school, I got a simple way. So I organized some 50-60 sheets of paper, tore it into half sheets, distributed to the entire class. The whole class was restless. They said, sir, this is the first class. You have finished the syllabus in 30 minutes. You are planning to conduct a test based on what you have taught. You should not take this for internal assessment. That was their concern. I said, we will think about it later. Let me know how much you have understood. So I wrote 5 simple questions based on whatever I have taught. I wrote it on the board. I said, answer all this, I'll give you 10 minutes. Next 10 minutes, all of them give either blank paper or something totally different from what I taught them in the class. Out of 100 students, 98 of them got 0. 2 of them got 2 marks. Not because of me, they have learned something in the 10th standard. So based on that knowledge, they have answered those 2 questions, they got 2 marks. So when I announced the result, the whole class was dazed. First class, first exam, 98% of students are failed. So one student picked up courage, champion high school, they are convent educated. He stood up and then said, sir, this should not be taken for internal assessment. I said, my dear friend, this is not an assessment for you. I want to test my capability as a teacher. I want to test that. I have got a big 0 in my teaching capability. You won't believe the entire class stood up and clapped. PhD from DFI, David Mumford, field medal, all that failed in the insignificance. Then I said I have failed. They felt bad after clapping. Young children, you know. So when they felt that this performance is not a reflection of my failure, it's a reflection of my teacher's failure. The way I have taught, the way I have conducted a quiz, the way I have evaluated is a miserable failure. Then I said, let me continue for the next 20 minutes. Next 20 minutes, I was trying to go slow. I was trying to explain the concepts. Just before the bell went, I said, I am going to give another test. Next 20 minutes, you must have seen, they were all in deep attention. They understood the way I conduct the classes. This fellow will talk for 30 minutes, conduct the test for the extra 10 minutes. This is his style of teaching. Therefore, let's be careful. In the second part of my teaching, the entire class was in 100% attention. When I gave the test, all the 100 students passed. All the 100 students. And when I said the entire class has passed, the credit should go to you. To some extent, credit come to me also. Again, they all stood up and clapped. The second time clap was genuine. They're happily clapping. They immediately, with that one single incident, I was able to create a bondage with all my students. Here is a teacher who takes responsibility for my learning. Immediately, they all felt comfortable. They felt light. If I am not learning, I don't have to feel bad. He will take care of my burden. He will make sure I learn. The confidence I built. When you want to create that kind of a learning environment in the classroom, where the gap between the teacher and the student is completely minimized, actually there will be no gap. You put yourselves in the shoes of the student, their failure is my failure, their success is my success. So you may think, how do you say this? That's why I go to my next point. Responsible because we as teachers control the subject, we control the style of presentation, we are the speaker. Look at the control of the students in the classroom environment and control of the teacher. Students have no control. What control they have over the teacher? I mean, you have the whip, they have the bat, they bend you whip, that's all. What freedom the students have in the class? They have no freedom. What freedom I have? I have all the freedom. I decide the curriculum. I plan for my lectures. I prepare for the classes. The content is in my control. Subject is in my control. The style of presentation is under my control. How am I going to present this? Like the housewife who is going to prepare and then serve, it is in the hands of the housewife. Likewise, as a teacher, it is totally in my hands to prepare well and serve them well in the classroom. Style of delivery is in my control. The speaker, I am the speaker. The way I speak is in my control. Therefore, all the 3 important ingredients of teaching learning process is in my control. Therefore, I will be held responsible and accountable for my students' learning. I again repeat, all the teachers are 200% responsible and accountable for the students' learning. The cause for learning. It is my responsibility to make sure that they develop a desire to learn. To develop a desire to learn. So the desire to learn will come, the joy of learning will come, provided there is joy of teaching. As a teacher, I must be delighted to teach. I must be passionate about my subject. That's why I always used to say 4 things are important for a teacher. You must like the subject, whatever subject you are fertilizing, you must like your subject. You don't say, sir, what do you mean by that? I have a PhD, I have produced papers, or produced doctors. Without liking, how will I do this? When I say liking, you must be up to date with that knowledge. That means you must love the subject. Unless you love the subject, you will not be able to like it. I've been teaching for the last 55 years, teaching mathematics, statistics, computer science, management. I am never tired of teaching. In my introduction, I think that professor waxed eloquence about all my achievements, I was a vice chancellor, this, that. But all that doesn't mean anything to me. I was a great teacher, I will continue to be a teacher. I was never born as a vice chancellor, I will never die as a vice chancellor. I was always born as a teacher, I will die as a teacher. Teaching is that passionate. Kalam was also like me, he was my senior, he died as a teacher, not as a president. He retired as a president. He always used to say the same thing. I was not born as a president, I will not die as a president. I want to be a teacher. When he was teaching I am Shillong, he dropped down there. Our own teacher, Professor Savarimattu, used to be a distinguished professor of physics in those days. So in those days, space physics used to be very, very popular. So Professor Savarimattu was giving a talk on space physics. Kalam and we were all seated. He dropped down. He dropped down dead. We brought him to the child disease hospital. They said he was brought dead. This is what is known as dying in harness. When you are doing the happiest work in your life and you drop down dead, there is a glorious death. Everybody is born gloriously, not everybody dies gloriously. Kalam died gloriously. Professor Savarimattu died gloriously. As he was talking, as a teacher, he dropped down. What a glorious death, right? So I continue to be a teacher. That is where I derive joy, right? So as a teacher, there should be a joy of teaching. When for the student, there will be joy of learning. Impactful more by their character and commitment, expected to judge their success by the success of the students. Don't go by the feedback that the students give for your teaching. That is only one part of it. Most of the time, they may not be very serious and genuine also. So you need to judge the quality of your teaching by the success of your students. How many of the students have got a first class? How many of them have got a distinction? How many of them have failed? That is the reflection of your teaching. So most of us do take feedback from the student. All of it take. You must also be taking, right? So in US, they not only take a feedback from the student, they take 360-degree feedback. So some of the good institution I suggest, try it. Very difficult, but try it. One feedback is from the students. Another feedback from the peers. There are 20 members in the department. You do a faculty workshop. The rest of the faculty will evaluate you for your capability in terms of knowledge, in terms of teaching, they will. Then there is a self-appraisal. UGC, every teacher gives a self-appraisal. There's a self-appraisal, there's a student feedback, there's a peer feedback. Fourth one is expert feedback. Probably get 2 professors from IIT and IIM, ask them to evaluate the faculty based on a faculty seminar. Each faculty in some of the distinguished universities in US will have 4 values. One, my self-appraisal, value that I have given. One from the students, one from the peers, one from the experts. Lot of research was done amongst all these 4 values. Which one is likely to be the lowest? Can you make a guess? Even though I suggest this across the country, no university, no college has even attempted this. Because in most of the department across the country, there is so much of jealousy. You're a popular teacher, rest of the colleagues will give you -2. You're measuring them on a 1 to 5 scale, they'll say -2, 0, not applicable. This will be the response. Because in US, the teachers are mature. I may not like you, but if you're a great teacher, I will give you 5 on 5. I will give you 4.5 on 5. Still, the Indian teachers are not mature. You must distinguish between the personal relationship and official relationship. I may not like the Professor X, but if he's a fantastic teacher, I must compliment and then give a higher grade. It is because of lack of maturity, this suggestion does not work in India. We have good maturity in some departments, attempted in one or two departments. The research shows, can you guess which score will be the lowest of the 4 scores? By and large, which score will be the lowest? Student score, self-appraisal, peer appraisal, and experts appraisal. Which is likely to be the highest? Which is likely to be the lowest? Just guess. Highest is self-appraisal. You always put 5 and 5. When I was the vice chancellor, I had about 850 teachers. I distributed a questionnaire, right? And after 2 weeks, my registrar collected all these. It's a 5-point scale. And I told my registrar, how many of the teachers have given 5 on 5 on most of the metrics? He said, out of 850, 700 have given 5 on 5 on every metric. I said, remove all these applications from my perusal. I don't want to see them. But these teachers have already reached the maximum of their potential. I may not be able to help them to improve. Anybody who gives 4.2, 3.8, and 2.9, they are the teachers who will be drawing the attention of a vice chancellor. I will address them. They want to improve. They are not satisfied with their own existing score. All these 150 teachers were directly under my control. Rest of the government faculty were upset. They thought I will compliment them because they got 5 on 5. I ignored them. Next time when I took the same exercise, all of them put less than 3. I want to hear the good books of the vice chancellor. He ignores when you are 5 on 5. Let me give the lowest score so that I will get the best attention from the honorable vice chancellor. So, most of the time, we always are very liberal with self-evaluation, very strict with the student evaluation. We are very strict with the student evaluation. Small mistake, you give 0. Not even 5 or 6 out of 10 is 0. Even this you don't know, 0. Right? So we are extremely strict with the students, extremely kind and liberal while it comes to self-evaluation. Right? So highest will be self-evaluation. Can you guess which will be the lowest? In India, probably peer evaluation will be the lowest. But in US, can you guess? Lowest was student evaluation. Student evaluation of the 4 will always be the lowest. The reason is as follows. When this I wanted to start even in 1975, almost 40 years ago, I started feedback. MAC didn't exist. AICT didn't exist. As a good teacher, I wanted to take a feedback. The entire department was against it. They all said, what do they know about me and my subject? They are all ignorant. They are come here to learn the subject. How are they competent to judge me or my knowledge? We will not allow the students to evaluate us. The entire department was against. I conducted feedback on my teaching. I'm supposed to be a good teacher, so I got a good grade. Then I told my colleagues, they may not have knowledge about the subject, but they have a right to judge you. To take a similar example, I'm a patient. I go to a doctor for treatment. This doctor gives a prescription. I was having 105 degree temperature, vomiting, purging, body pain, all that fatigue, all that I had. I went to the doctor. The doctor gave a prescription. Even after taking that medicine for 10 days, my fever has not come down, vomiting has not stopped, body pain has not been reduced. If I ask the patient to evaluate the doctor. The patient may not have medical knowledge about the doctor, but patient has a right to judge the doctor based on whether I got cured by your prescription or not. I care a damn thing for your FRCS, FRCP, MCH, gold medalist publication, all that I care a damn thing. Your prescription did not work on me, I will give you 0. I have a right to judge my doctor, even though my knowledge of medicine is 0. I have a right to judge. I am justified in giving 0 for my doctor. I am not judging his knowledge. I am not judging his qualification. I am only judging whether I have got cured by your prescription. Likewise, when a student gives a feedback on a teacher, he is not judging your knowledge. He is not judging your capabilities. He is only judging how much I have learned from you. He has a right to judge me whether he has learned from me or not. If he has not learned anything from me, he will give 0. You may have double PhD, international publication, citation index, H factor, all that I care a damn thing. I have not learned anything from you, I will give 0. So when the student gives a feedback on the teacher, always take it in the positive sense. He is not judging your degree, he is not judging your knowledge, he is only judging how much I have learned from you. If a student gives a poor feedback on the teacher, it's an indication that fellow or that boy or a girl has not learned anything from me. That is the message you are getting from the student. You can't afford to ignore. I need to change my methodology of teaching. I need to change my contents. I need to do something with my teaching learning process so that I make sure my students learn. Therefore, impactful more by their character and commitment than by their communication. Communication is important, but what is taught from a teacher is more important than what is taught by a teacher. As children, they try to imitate the teacher. Always try to imitate the teacher. Therefore, existing to serve the student. So the main pillar in an academic institution is the student pillar. This college was established not to give jobs to these 130 teachers, but to provide quality education to 7,000, 8,000 students. That is the founding sisters' vision. You start a college, the college is started not to provide jobs to you and me. It is with a view to provide quality education to the student. Likewise, when somebody starts a hospital, is their objective is to provide jobs to the doctors? No, it's to heal the patients. My daughter and son-in-law both are senior doctors in CMC below. 105-year-old. Service orientation is the highest, right? So the very culture in CMC is to make sure that the patient get the best patient care. That is the priority. That is the founding Edascatter's vision. 105 years ago was just that. Not to give jobs to these doctors. That you and I are in the system is incidental. You are incidental in the system. The prime pillar in any academic institution is the student pillar. Now there are 3 major relationships. The speaker, when I say the speaker, the teacher. Teacher has a relationship with the subject. Speaker has a relationship with the student. Speaker has a relationship with the style of talking. Right? I have a relationship with all the 3. I'm going to focus on second relationship. So that is relevant to the topic that I have chosen for today. All these 3 are important. To what level you are committed to the subject, to what level you are committed to the student, what level you are committed to a style of presentation. So this is something very interesting. Most of us don't pay attention to this. Simply because you are prepared for the classes does not mean the classes will turn out to be a successful class. At the end of some classes, you are so happy. Whether the students have understood or not, you are so happy you get a delightful talk. On some other classes, you feel you have not done your best. There is some disturbance within you. I am not in my elements today. I have not done to the best of my satisfaction. Therefore, the style of speaking, the relationship with the student, relationship with the subject, all of them are connected to the teacher. Because you have a responsibility in all the 3, if something does not happen properly in the classroom, the fault is with me, not with the student. There's a beautiful incident in Taittiriya Upanishad. I'll talk more about it when I come to it. The Taittiriya almost 5,000, 6,000 years ago, a great renowned Rishi, Taittiriya Rishi, comes to the pedestal. He is actually going to give a convocation address. So the convocation address was existing on the Indian academic institution even 5,000, 6,000 years ago. It is known as Shishyana Vachana. A great Rishi who has gone through life is advising the students who have completed the studies getting into life. Actually, Matra Devo Bhava, Pitar Devo Bhava, Acharya Devo Bhava, Atithi Devo Bhava is a part of the convocation address. He gives practical tips to be successful in life. Now, first he addresses the students and then tells them, when you are entering life, be a great listener. Be a great listener. As management teachers, we know there is a world of difference between hearing and listening. As I am talking, there are other sounds coming from this hall. I think the fan is making some noise. Probably some of you are very carefully listening to that noise for the last 1 hour and 15 minutes. Very carefully, driving noise, listening to it. Some of you may be listening to what I'm speaking also. Fortunately, unfortunately, ears are always open. All the noise hits my eardrums. It is the mind that filters what you want to listen, what you won't want to listen. All these five senses, when the mind is engaged to it, it makes a decision. Whether you want to see, whether you want to hear, whether you want to smell, otherwise it filters out. So, Taittiriya Maharshi talks about the importance of listening. After saying that, all the teachers are seated on this side. He turns around 90 degrees to the left, addresses all the faculty. He tells the faculty, if you want all the students to be great listeners, you better be great speakers. If you are a lousy speaker, how do you expect the student to be an active listener? I don't know how many of you have seen the former former Prime Minister Chandrasekhar speaking. When Manmohan Singh speaking, monotonous single voice. You feel like sleeping when you listen to them. Looks like a lullaby. Chandrasekhar always used to speak like that. Monotonous single voice. One should not speak like that. What are the 6 ways in which you need to produce the voice? He talks about it. I will also spend some time on that. But they are all very practical tips, which most of the teachers don't bother about. The way you speak is very, very important. If you are an effective speaker, students will be an active listener. You must be able to speak effectively. How do you do that? It comes in the next slide. Oh, earlier thing, I am not completed. Speak expert. Good. What? Importance of strong bonding with the student. Enhance the learning. You see, you must get connected with the students emotionally. How do you do that? Many a times in academic institution, I have seen, you will not even know the names of the students who are studying under you. This I learned from Arun Padasupira. I will share an incident, a remarkable memory of Padasupira. In those days, for PUC admission, you had to meet the principal. Don't forget, Gerard has retired, don't forget, Matthias is the principal. The candidate has to come with the father. So my father was standing behind me. I was standing. We are standing in a queue. I had a good score, 585 out of 600. Good score, I will totally make it. But still, you have to meet the principal. So as my father was studying, my father also old student of St. Joseph's College, MA Physics, in 1920, almost 103 years before, he was an MA Physics in those days. So, around Father Sekira was his teacher. Somebody patted him on the back. Nathan, what brings you to St. Joseph's? He turned up and then he found his teacher was that my father's name is Nathan. After 40 years, he remembered the names of students who studied under him in the same service hall. That is what brings you here. He said, I brought my son Jaishankar for admission. He looked at the score. Don't stand in the queue. I will take you straight to the principal. There is another entry to the principal's room. Father Sigura took me and my father. Straight away went to Father Matthias. He said, his father is my student. As a family, they want to be Josephites, admit this fault. I mean, Sikira is such a senior father, and Matthias was a student when Sikira was a professor. He comes and recommends, I have a good score. So he said, then immediately he said, admit, and I was admitted. What impressed me was an old teacher after 40 years can remember the name of my father. I said, when I become a teacher, I will also follow this principle. I will know the names of all my students who are studying under me. I can remember all the student names for the last 40 to 50 years. Whether they were in Sanjay's college, whether they were in REC, whether as a director of BAM. Not only that, any faculty in BAM need to know the names of all the students. I mean, they are all admitted in the program. They are going to live with me for 3 years. If they continue their PG, they will live with me for 5 years. You don't bother to know their names. You meet them in the library, you meet them in the sports complex, you meet them in the cafeteria. You don't even recognize your student. Don't you think the student will feel bad? What kind of bonding you are developing? That emotional bondage is totally missing. I will tell you the memory of Father Sekira. You taught me Shakespeare. In those days, Sanjay says you need to sit according to a D number. 1501, 1502, 1503, it will be like that. There'll be some students will be short. First year BSc, one Kasur Rangan was there. He became a great scientist in ISRO later. He was a casual student. He was a casual student. Therefore, his number will always be the last. So he was sitting in the 20th bench. He made a request to Father Sikira, Father, I am not able to see the board or you. I am sitting in the last bench. Allow me to sit in the first row. I mean, this is the rule of the college. I mean, he's such a senior father. He did not allow the rules to be broken. He said, Sur Rangan, I appreciate your problem. I have no issue if you stand up on the last bench and see the board. I will not allow you to the first bench. You being on the last bench, stand up on the bench, you will be able to see the board. That is the solution. And he will not take attendance. He will have the monitor to take attendance. He will say 1526, 1527, he will read. One may be Swaminathan, the other one may be Ramurthy, they have strapped the seats. Right? He will reading the number. He will read the numbers only. Immediately for the Sikira will stop. Ramurthy, move into your seat, Swaminathan, get into your seat. Even when they strap the seats, he will not allow. To that extent, he is monitoring the behavior of the student in the class. If we don't know the names of the student, when you are doing a PPT, all the lights are switched off, they will be enjoying their lunch in the last row. Somebody may be talking, somebody will be sending messages. You don't know what's happening in the class. And once you know the names of everyone, if there is a young student, they will talk. Subramanian, if you have a Nobel Prize winning idea, let the whole class know about it, share it. Don't have a secret conversation between the two friends. This is the way he will reprimand us. If you have a Nobel Prize winning idea, share with the entire class. Let me also benefit. You don't have any personal conversation. He will call the names of both. So the moment you know the teachers know you so personally, less indiscipline will be there in the class. More and more affection you develop with the student, more and more enhancement will be for the learning, right? So emotional support is important. That's why I said personal rapport that you maintain in the class, very, very important. In motivation, classroom environment, there is a joyful environment in the entire classroom. In behavioral guidance, no one will misbehave in the class. If you develop this emotional connect, then you'll be able to mentor them, you'll be able to build a confident relationship. Parent teacher partnership also will develop. One. Ways to improve bonding with the student, active listening. You must be able to listen to the students whenever they ask a question. Otherwise, even when you are asking a question, be careful in selecting the right kind of an individual. Which student you should pick up? There are some tips for that. I will cover it next Take active interest in the student learning, very, very important. Personalized attention, that's what I said. You must be able to attend to the individual. You must be approachable. Many times, teachers are not approachable. There'll be a mentorship schedule within a week, 2 to 3 on a Wednesday, we are supposed to meet you. Most of the time, you will not be available in your cabin, right? You must be approachable. You must be empathetic, particularly after the COVID. I think most of the students suffered a personal loss. Probably father died, mother died, loss of a job, less salary, financial strain, bereavement. So we need to be sympathetic and empathetic with the student. Shared experiences. You see, when I go to the class, first I talk about myself. Sense of humor, you will have to introduce yourself. I start by saying, I have one wife, one daughter, one son. Something like that, when did you get married? What did you do as a student? Immediately the personal rapport will be maintained. Then I will distribute a small slip on the first day itself. Most of the time, I know all the students on the day they join because I am interviewing them. I would have made a note even when I am interviewing. Then there's a stamp size photograph. Stamp size photograph, all the credentials. I put it on a big sheet. I take a Xerox copy, distribute it to all my colleagues also. Every faculty in BAM should know the names of all the students. So I distribute a slip. I tell them, write your name. Second item, how do you want me to call you? What are your hobbies? I have dozen hobbies. My hobby is photography. My hobby is postal stamp collection. I have lots of hobbies. Beyond academics, trying to get linked with the school. There will be dozen people who are interested in photography. Then I will tell them what kind of cameras we use. In those days, Rolleiflex used to be the most expensive camera. It's a German camera. Rolleiflex. Most expensive. I had a friend, Herrlich, who was in the University of Göttingen. He brought it to me. So I still have it, but nobody uses those fancy twin lens cameras, right? So we used to say, how do you cut the diaphragm? How do you cut the speed? How do you take serial out pictures? We have lots of common things apart from academics. That emotional connect has to happen, right? So, how do you want me to call? He will say, my name is Balakrishnan, call me as Balu. This is the way my father called, this is the way my mother calls. So when I call him as Balu, emotionally, that connect is established. So he will at least understand my teacher wants to be close to me. There will be no fear of a teacher, right? Sympathy shared is good. Yeah. Next one. The importance of communication in the Indian context. First contact of a human being is through senses. How do we learn as a human being? We have 5 senses. What are the senses? Hearing, touch, sight, taste, and smell. Can someone tell me what is the first sense through which we started learning in this world? When we were born, which sense was available with us as a first sense for a just born baby? Sound. Sabda. You call a baby, it will turn. You sing a lullaby, it will smile. The baby will be able to respond to the sound. Baby will not be able to see. The baby is in a cradle. You go and see the baby. Let Aishwarya Rai come and see the baby. The baby will not smile. Throw a 2,000 rupee note to a child. Baby will not smile. Only now the baby will smile. Aishwarya comes and smiles, right? Baby cannot see. How many of you know? It will take 6 months for the retina for a human eye to develop. The baby will have a blurred vision. First sense that comes to the baby is the sound. That is why you sing songs. You make that noise. The baby will turn. You call the baby, it will turn. The first sense through which any baby is born in the universe is sound, sabda, sparsa, touch. So you hold the baby like this. The baby can understand whether mother is holding or father is holding. The mother is holding, the baby will be quiet. The father is holding, the baby will cry. The father's touch is always the hard touch. The terrorist touch, The baby will know This is not the soft touch of a mother. So the touch is Sparsha, the baby understands. Right? The mother holds and then does this, the baby will stop crying. That is the second sense. Third one is Rupa. The baby will be able to see only in the month of fifth or sixth month. Till then it will have a blurred vision. Fourth sense that is developed is Rasa, taste. That is why we do Annaprasanam in every tradition only in the ninth month at the end of 1 year. Till then, the baby cannot distinguish among the tastes. It takes only the milk, either mother's milk or cow's milk. Right? Therefore, the baby cannot taste. The taste buds are developed only after the ninth month of the. That's why Annaprasana is always done, not on the 10th day Annaprasana is done. Only after 9 months Annaprasana is done. Sense of smell, Ananda comes only the last. This is the order in which these five senses are developed. How many of us have even asked this question? These are there in the Upanishad. In what order these five senses are developed? That is why sense of listening is very, very fundamental. In Upanishad, they say, if you don't develop the sense of listening for the baby will be a slow learner throughout their lives. All those who are trying to get babies or have babies at home, you keep on engaging in a conversation with the baby, keep on talking, keep on singing, create noise and engage the baby with sounds. The more and more the noise bombardment takes place for the baby will become an active, fast learner. So this is the first sense that came to a human being when we were born. When this listening skill is not developed, there will be a permanent learning disability. This is not developed when they are 25. This has to be developed when they are young. That is why in most of the younger tradition, older tradition, we keep on engaging the baby in conversation. That's very, very important. So after listening, Shravanam, Mananam, Nitidhyasanam. Shravanam is listening. Mananam is reflection. Like a cow which grazes the field very fast, lies down in the shade of a tree, chews the cud. That's why today we are talking about reflective learning. What is reflective learning? Manana. If you are having a empty memory, nothing will be there in your memory. Britishers never understood the advantage of developing a large memory. Today, only my mobile phones, desktops, and the laptops have 256 GB, 512 GB, 1 terabyte. All these memories are large for my gadgets. This memory is 128 KB. Very low memory all the modern students have. Therefore, span of attention is very low. That's a challenge. In my younger days, when I was a teacher, age 69, the span of attention used to be 1.5 hours. When it's not teaching topology, no students are so serious. I come to the classroom in MS and say good morning, they'll take them. As if it is part of topology and teaching, they are so serious, right? So they are so serious, 1.5 hours, no digression in their concentration. Whereas today, span of attention is 8 seconds, 20 seconds. And that's why most of the young students have 2 phones, 3 phones. You must have seen all the students have multiple phones. To be with the student, I also have multiple phones. I have 3 phones. I asked one of the students, why do you have 3 phones? He said, they're all MBA students. He said, sir, we don't get a message or a mail for 30 seconds, I get booked up. So he sent a message from one cell to another cell. Hi bro, how are you? One phone to the other phone. The other fellow will say, fine bro, how are you? In the phone. So I become restless if we don't get a message. So I have multiple phones. So there is a tremendous scope for distraction. So with the result, what happens? I teach them marketing management in the first hour. Second, our organization behavior feature goes, there's a memory overflow. Whatever was recorded in marketing management, they are erased and organization behavior is recorded. In the sixth hour, I go to maths and strategies for managers. All the 5 sessions for the morning, they get erased and MSM is recorded. In the final bell goes, MSM also gets recorded. He is as blank as he joined the school in the morning, right? Because memory is very low. In communication, two essential factors are the speaker and the listener. The speaker, listener, and the content. Teachers have to master the art of speaking and articulation, voice production. How do you produce a voice? There are three components of good speaking. One is voice production. In the voice production, Chaitropadu Maharshi says, each human being is born with a particular voice and a pitch. Some people will have high pitch, some people will have low pitch. Kundi Ramanathan, I don't know, used to have two better paduvar. Rumba low pitch இருக்கும். MS Subarashmi 5 better high pitch paduvar. And the Umaranath teacher says, don't change your voice. Whatever God has given you, stick to the same voice and also stick to the same pitch. Many times in modern days, all the students, they pick up the strained American accent. This is not your natural way of speaking. You pick up a foreign accent and your speech cannot be effective at all. You need to speak with a God-given voice. There is a high pitch or low pitch. Within the pitch, you need to speak. Phonetics covers pronunciation, enunciation, diction, emphasis, pause, tone, intonation, combination of conjunction. So it goes in the form of Sanskrit thing. So go to the next step. Swara, Parabalam, Samasantana, Karna, Swara, Mantra, Pala, Sama, Santana. These are all the components of voice production. I'm not going into detail. If there are professors of English who know phonetics, this is all intricate phonetics. Intricate phonetics. How do you develop the voice production? How do you create the voice? Next one. He compared the effectiveness of communication with the relationship. If the relationship is strong, the communication will be effective. The relation between the speaker and the listener is strong, deep and genuine communication will become effective. Intensity of communication will depend upon the intensity of relationship. And actually, I skipped that step. Second step, what he is saying is development of those sentences. From the words, from the alphabets, you prepare the words. From the words, you create the sentences. From the sentences, you create the paragraph. From paragraph, you create the chapter. That is the way you create the content. Right? In the Bible, it says, in the beginning of the word was with God, word is God. Actually, if you look at the Upanishad, it's a plain English translation of the Sanskrit sentence in the Upanishad. Concepts are universal, right? So the word is very, very important. You don't abuse the word or abuse the language. Because word is as powerful as God's intervention. So one has to be very careful in the choice of words. Then he goes to the relationship. Beautifully explained. There's a concept of Sandhi and Santana. Sandhi is two objects coming together. Santana is the outcome of this joining. He gives 5 examples. Earth and heaven. Out of the union of earth and heaven comes the sky. Earth is the entire universe. Heaven is that space. What connects these two? The connecting thing is the sky. When you have fire and sun, what is fire? Fire is a sacrificial fire. What is the role of the sun? The sea water evaporates. Sea water evaporates when you do yajna, heaven, smoke comes out. This smoke goes into the air, smoke and the evaporated vapor join together and form the clouds. As a cloud, it rains, right? Therefore, Santana for the joining of fire and sun is the rain. Teacher and the student. Yeah. Teacher and the student. So when we join together, then the knowledge is coming out of it. Father and mother, when they join, what comes out of it, Santana is the progeny. lower lip and upper lip, if they are staying apart, speech will not come out. காத்துதான் வரும். என்ன வரும்? ஒண்ணும் வராது. Only when the lower lip and upper lip join together, speech comes out. What a beautiful example. They are trying to explain the concept of a sandhi and santana is different from sandhi. Now he goes on to explain father and mother. He takes that example. If after marriage, the man and the woman, they become one only based on biological urge, the quality of the child will be mediocre. If the coition takes place born out of love and affection, the quality of the child will be the bizarre. If the father and mother tries to get a baby who will be able to transform this universe, like what happened with Adi Shankara, what happened with Jesus Christ, father and mother must have only thought about to bring about a child who will transform the universe. Sivaguru and Ariyamba, they go to the Vadakanathan temple, make a prayer. It is not born out of biological urge, it is not born out of simple love and affection, it is born out of a larger philosophy. Chakra was born. Therefore, the point that they are trying to convey is the quality of the output will be a function of the quality of the relationship that you have between these two sandhis. What? Next step, who is moving? Yeah. So man's research on types of, I'll quickly go through, man has researched on the types of students in the class. All the teachers expect the students to be compliant, obedient. No, it's a false expectation, unreasonable expectation. In any class, you will have these 8 types of students. Compliant students will be only 10%. Generally, they will sit in the first row. Right? Then anxious dependent students, 26%. Distress teachers and expect tricky question, unfair grading practices. Students are like that, they depend on the teacher for their performance. Discourage the student, communicate a depressed, fatalistic attitude towards their education, 4%. Independent student who pursue their own goals, 12%. Generally, they will sit in the last bench. They're all independent. Then heroes. Heroes promise much, deliver little. Nipper is a hero who is hostile towards the teacher and filled with cynicism. His degree is useless, college is useless, everything is useless. They will exhibit cynicism. Attention seeking student, they are the people who create mischief. They will come to the class with a question for the teacher to make sure teacher is not able to answer the question. That is their intention. Silent student about 18%. In any class, 18% of the students will be silent. This is the man's research on the type of student. Therefore, when you are trying to handle the student, first thing you need to identify to which type they belong, and the way you handle them has to be different. The way you handle the obedient student has to be different from the way you handle the independent students. Importance of Guru Siksha Parampara, transmission of knowledge, personalized learning, policy, because in a Gurukul system, you live with the teacher, learn from the teacher, living and learning together. So there is a holistic development, cultural continuity, character building, trust and devotion, experiential learning. If you look at the Indian model, we have developed packets of excellence across the country, from Kanchi to Kashi to Kashmir, Ujjain, across the country, we have developed packets of excellence. The Nalanda and Takshashila, they are not our tradition at all. They are all Buddhistic monasteries. We never believe in 10,000 students, 20,000 students. This mass education always compromises on the quality of education. Experiential learning, spiritual awakening, presentation of tradition, sense of belonging, adaptability, and innovation. Next, applying Guru Siksha Parampara in digital, personalized online learning platform. So today, technology can be utilized to bring back the Guru Siksha Parampara traditions, virtual office hours, mentorship program, synchronous and asynchronous learning with feedback, online communities, individual learning plans, digital content creation, holistic webinar and workshops, integration of values and ethics, integrative assignments, empowerment and independence. So you'll be able to develop that cohesiveness not only between you and the student, also among the student, you must be able to develop that cohesiveness. Through technology, you will be able to do it. I'll end up with this last slide. Why lifelong learning? It's a beautiful verse enunciated in this country in Subhash Vikas. It talks about how we learn. Acharya Padam Adatte, Padam Sishya Swamedeya, Padam Sahabrahmacharibhya, Padam Kalakramenacha. Padam in Sanskrit means 23%. Acharya Padam Adatte. Best of the students learn only 25% from best of the teachers. Don't feel bad, students have not learned 100% from you. They will not. It is unreasonable expectation. Padam Sishya Swamedeya. By the individual effort, students learn the remaining 25%. We call it as 1:2 ratio. If you are talking to the student for 3 hours in a week, it is 3 credit course. The students are supposed to put in 6 hours outside the class hours to understand what you have taught in the 3 hours in the class. 3 hours can be in the library or in the computer center. Another 3 hours can be in the hostel or in home, right? This is individual effort. Ask the question, same class, same course, I have taught the same class. Some students have got distinction, some students have got first class, some got second class, third class, few students fail. How do you explain this? It is not your responsible. They have not put in their efforts. Padam Sahabrahmacharibhya, third over 25%, they learn from peers, collaborative learning. We talked about it 5,000 years ago in Indian soil. Third 25% they learn from collaborative learning. If you want to create that congenial atmosphere for learning, it is not enough if you are a masterful teacher, develop the relationship among the students to go for peer learning or collaborative. Last one, Padam Kalakramenacha. By passage of time, I will learn the last one. After 10 years, when you are in the work place, when you are going through life experiences, you will realize, Reverend Sister Mary told me this in the class. I understand the impact of what she said, and I go through the life experiences now. So, no human being is 100% learned. I continue to learn throughout my life, because the last 25%, you are not completing your learning. So long as I am alive, I must continue to learn. My learning is not complete, and that is why lifelong learning is important. I told the AICD executive, you put it as the 12th attribute without knowing why you are putting lifelong learning as important graduate attribute. And end up with this prayer. This is the prayer which we generally start in the Gurukul in the Indian system. I will say that prayer and then explain it within 30 seconds and then start. Sahana Bhavatu, Sahano Bhunaktu, Sahavidyan Karavavahe, Tejasvinavadi Namastu, Mavid Vishavahe, Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. It says there is no distinction between a teacher and the student in the entire prayer. It says we. There is no gap. Who is a teacher? Who is a student? Partly I am a teacher, partly I am a student. Students also partly they are students, partly they are teachers. Many a time they teach and listen to us. We learn something from our students. Therefore, in the entire prayer, there is no distinction between a teacher and a student. It talks about we. My dear friend, we are walking towards the common goal of acquiring more and more knowledge. Because we are walking towards a common goal, let this relationship be strong. Let there be no dvesha, let there be no hatred amongst us. Let there be no hatred between a teacher and a teacher. No hatred between the student and the student. Let there be no hatred between the student and the teacher. This is the prayer because we are walking towards a common goal of acquiring more and more. This is the Indian prayer 10,000 years ago on the Indian soil. And once you recite the prayer, there is no distinction between the learner and the teacher. We are one and the same. There is no gap. Let there be no gap. Only when there is a gap, you need to bridge the gap. You don't see any gap at an emotional level. When students will learn 100% from you, you will be able to give the very best to the student throughout your life as a teacher. Thanks for that.
Question. All the students do not respond freely to us, especially after COVID. Students have lost their interpersonal skills. So how do we connect with such students?
See, we say, for teaching the student, there are three dimensions to it. One, you're teaching knowledge, you're imparting skill, you're shaping up their attitude and also their values. They used to tell me, MBA friends, you're all interested in making cash. But don't bother about that cash. Look at this cash. KASH. A stands for knowledge, A stands for attitude, stands for skills, H stands for human values. Now, whenever the students are in distress, they are in distress. There can be an emotional disturbance in the family, some bereavement, some financial stress. The only way to do it is through mentoring, counseling, proctoring. That is the only way. The problem is most of the teachers are not trained to do these tasks. In manual lab, you say 1:20. The FSR ratio, you put it on the mentor-mentee ratio also. If it is 1:20, this is also 1:20 because numerator and denominator are the same. But when it comes to mentoring, proctoring, there are three types of counseling. One is academic counseling, career counseling, and personal counseling, right? So when there's a personal distress, are we teachers trained to handle this? Mostly only doctors will be able to do it. That's why in large universities like VIT, there are 12 psychiatrists in the campus. Today, modern students, before COVID, after COVID, they are under severe stress and strain because of the pressure. How many suicides are happening in IITs and IIMs? We see them day in and day out. Even before COVID, students were in distress. We need to handle this with compassion. So if I am not able to do it, I think we will have to employ professional psychiatrist doctors to address this issue. We may not be fully trained to do this, but this has to be addressed.
We have another question, sir. What efforts should we put in for slow learners?
Again, as I said in the beginning, the modern terminology, I was a slow learner. I became a super advanced learner in 3 months. And for the Lawrence Summam and Sikira, they gave me that kind of confidence in English speaking. I was able to participate in quiz competition, oratorical competition. I used to compete with the literature students with the first prize. It is one of building the confidence. Don't brand anybody as a slow learner. My understanding is a slow learner can be a deep learner. A fast learner can be a shallow learner. Somebody can learn fast, but he only grazes the tip of the grass. He doesn't go deep. Whereas a slow learner, he will be learning slow, but learning very deep. Therefore, it is not a misnomer to call somebody as a slow learner. We need to be empathetic. What is the problem in the learning experience? That we need to understand. Problem for me was I studied in Tamil medium for 11 years, came into the English medium. Therefore, I don't understand economics, I don't understand physics, because every teacher is supposed to talk in English. So I was scoring low marks in other subjects, not because I was poor, because I don't understand. The moment the English was taught, in 3 months, I was a topper in the college. Throughout my life, I was a first class first rank. Started my life as a slow learner, but ended up with a super advanced learner, right? So you need to approach these students. That's why in Sanjay School, what they used to do, they will not send a young teacher to these students. Superior, fantastic senior teachers will come and address the student. Because there is a complex developed for the student. I am in the slow learner class. There's a complex developed. So to compensate that, rest of the teachers will come for these classes. They go only to the MA Shakespeare literature class. They will come to PUC slow learners. Actually, other students who are also good in English would like to join this class because of the sharpness and capability of the teacher. So my suggestion is if there are slow learners, best of the teachers, senior most teachers must go to these classes. This is what was done to me. And I progressed on a fast track.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for the question.
I extend our heartfelt gratitude to Dr. Jayashankaran for accepting our invitation and gracing us with his presence today. Thank you, sir. Despite your very busy schedule, you agreed to join us as a resource person for this international FDP. You addressed us on the various dimensions of effective professional development of teachers and how we need to develop effective teacher-student relationships. Thank you, sir. We are also grateful to all our participants for making today's session successful. We have now come to the end of today's session. Dear participants, please join us tomorrow at 2 p.m. for our second day of the FDP. Thank you one and all. Have a great evening. The feedback link is shared in the chat box. The participants can fill it out. This feedback form is for all the online participants. The offline participants will receive their feedback link on the principal's group.